As a startup founder, you know that showcasing your technology features and benefits is key to getting investors and customers excited about your product. Yet, it's not always easy for founders that do not have a sales team or a sales background. I know because that's exactly how I started. This episode will help you structure a killer demo without losing too much time, guide you through the common mistakes to avoid that could be driving your customers away, and give you some tips on how to handle your platform and tricky technical questions. Welcome to the Mary Poppins of Startups live show. I'm Naili Makangu from Athena Leaders. As a tech consultant and startup advisor, I will answer live the burning questions that you have on your journey to Series A+. Subscribe and tune in every week for top tips to meet amazing guests, startup founders, investors, and more. More importantly, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, today's topic is really something that I'm really passionate about. And again, it's something that came as an inspiration, the kind of in the shower moment where you're not really thinking about doing a podcast on this, as I had a lot of other things something else I wanted to talk about on this show, this particular episode. But then as I sat down and I was reflecting on my own journey from a technical founder into the world of having to land clients and all of the work that I do to help my clients as well, that might be technical or not, but they do not come from a sales background and they have that headaches about how do I present my product? How do I connect with the clients? How do I further the conversations? And I thought, okay, what can I do to help? So I've been working on putting together a course specifically on that particular topic about helping to close more deals or at least move the conversation further. One of the real reasons why I started that course is after being tired and fed up of what I call death by demo. I don't know if that has happened to you, but before we used to talk about death by PowerPoint, it's another issue that I see in some demos. But I got so tired of sitting down with clients, especially when we first started talking to each other, and I asked them to show me their platform, and they were showing me absolutely everything. And any attempt I had to stop them were just going, or not being heard. So I thought, no, there's something that I can do. So in my inspiration moment, I thought I will get some of the tips that I'm sharing in the course, and I can share it right now for all of you guys out there watching this so that you can at least help you move forward. The first thing I always tell people, it really doesn't matter where you're starting from. As a founder, especially if you have a small team, even if you have someone in your team that helps with sales, maybe it's the first time they have a gig such as this one where they are responsible for bringing the clients in. And if you are a little bit kind of early stage-ish or pre-seed, you might not even have the big hitters that you need. So you as a founder, the person representing your product, will have to do the demos. You might have a sales team, but the demos will still fall on you, right? So any thoughts that you have right now, I'm not a salesperson, or I'm not an expert at selling, I'm not a product manager, I've never done a demo before, or I just got so much to say, but there's not enough time. Bear that in mind, put that in a box and toss that aside. Toss that in the pit of the limiting beliefs and the thoughts that could be holding you back, and focus on what are the skill set that I can learn, and what are some of the tools and tricks that can help me move forward. So this is the same message that I start with all of my clients. And I also wanted to start that with you so that you know that you can move forward and you are not just limited by those beliefs. It's a journey. So in terms of what is the first thing, or one of the things that I see that goes wrong? Let's look at the approach to preparing, right? A lot of people that prepare for the demos really think about the product and what is that they want to show. Let's take a step back. First, forget about you and really understand your customers' needs. And by that, I mean not just the customer, the industry in general, but the particular customer that you will be demoing to. What do you know about them, about their industry? If there are existing clients, what are the pain points that your product is helping them with? What is it they really care about? What is it that in previous conversations they've mentioned that they might actually be interested about your platform, right? Think about all of that and how you can create a persona, because that will drive in the second point that I will mention in a bit. So it's nothing worse than sitting down as a customer in a demo that is generic just because of the industry. It's actually much better when you can include something that they've told you about in previous discussions. In fact, this reminds me of a key point. Make sure that your demo is not the first interaction that you have with a client. There must have been previous conversations, right? So some people call them discovery conversations, and however you want to call it, but your demo shouldn't be the first thing that the clients find out about you, because it removes the opportunity from you to find out more specifics about them so that you can tailor that in the demo. So that's just a little bit of an aside there that just kind of popped into my mind, and I wanted to share that with you, and more about that as well will be on the course that I'm working on. Now that you have an idea about your clients, it could be a persona, you understand them a little bit more, you understand the key point, the challenging. Think about which part of your platform will be exciting to them, right? But before we even talk to the features, there's one thing that people forget: a story. Why? You may be thinking, Naili, now you want me, in addition to sales, you want me to become a storyteller. Yes, in a way. But how can you write a story without investing a lot of time in you going on another course, learning about storytelling and all of that, especially if it's not something that comes naturally to you? Think about the fact that the pieces of the stories are already at your disposal. You worked on the persona and you worked on understanding who you are selling to. So if you have that information, think about creating a character that can drive the demo, right? So from the moment you start your demo, going to the different features, talking about the pain points and all of that, if you can do that by having a scenario in hand, a scenario that your customers can relate to, you will definitely nail brownie points. Bear in mind that some organizations, especially if you're selling B2B to large customers, they probably sit through a lot of presentations. And the little thing that you can do to make you feel different will be noticed. So do think a little bit about the story. Do you have an existing customers that you probably worked with, maybe as part of your pilots? And remember the last episode that I talked about, I think it was mastering B2B sales and something like that. We talked a lot about pilots and how to prepare for that. And one of the key things that I shared in that episode was that using a pilot to have information to drive your sales process in the future. And this is another case on how you can do that. So if you have an existing customer, what were the kind of questions, the challenges that they talked about, the words they were using, and you can use all of that as part of your story. Now, going back to reusing, I'm a tech person. I was born in tech, well, let's say. I'm a software engineer by trade. And one of the key things that we learn as a coder is reusing modules. And I take that into the business world, especially in startups. Time is not always on your side. So the more you can reuse, the better for you. If you can reuse a scenario or create a new one, if it's the first time that you're launching in the market, then that will really grab the minds and the hearts, not just the minds, of the people that you are talking to. So again, in my course, I will have more details on how to do that. But what is more important for anybody that might be a little bit resistant to this idea of using storytelling to wrap your whole demo is this. The person you're speaking to, the representative of the company that you are pitching to as part of the demo, will have to sell you internally to other people, right? If you make their job easier by giving them a story, they're speaking using their language, they simplify your own language rather than using jargons. If you help them stay alive and not fall asleep, imagine how they will leave the demo, the energy level that they will have, and you've done their work for them, because those wordings that you've used that connect with him will also connect with other members of their team. So when you're giving a demo, don't just focus on the people in front of you. Of course, as I've said before, know who you will be speaking to as part of your research, but also know that these people will also be speaking to other people and you want to help them transmit your message. This is why when you're thinking about doing a demo, it's really important that if it's your first time, think about how you prepare. And if it's not your first time, think about how to add this extra spice so that you can incite the test buds of not just the people you're speaking to, but also the people they will be speaking to, just to help them sell you in their company. The other things we're going to look at now is features. Features. Features just can be a killer when it comes to when it comes to a demo, right? We talk about death by PowerPoint. I talk about death by features as well, because oh my God, I know that you love your product, you love with it, which is great, but your clients don't need to know everything. Again, people love themselves more than they love other people. That is just psychology and human nature. So if you really want to sell features, don't talk about absolutely everything that you have. First, talk about benefits. How is this helping them? As part of your demo, how are you how are you driving them towards the paths that focus mostly on their pain points that you've already known because you've done the work, as we've discussed in the first part of this episode. So if you want to sit there and just go through every single features, please go ahead. But that will not guarantee that you will get a second call and might actually make the next step, if there is a next step, a little bit more harder. Now, this is again something that I've seen time and time again. I've had people demo their platform with me where they start even demo, for example, the settings panels. Yes, settings panel is important because they wanted to show me what they've done for two-factor authentications or other part of the privacy and stuff like that. It's all well and good, but in a sales demo, when you look at the everything else that they might want to be interested in, is it really something that they need to see? You can talk about it, which is great, but they don't necessarily need to see that particular feature. And that's what is really important to do, to create a script, which is my next point or my next advice, my next tip for this episode. Write a script before you go and demo your platform. Don't just demo it based on instincts, based on what you think can work well or what you think might not work well. First, write a script and follow the script during the session. Why is it important to spend the time to write a script? Again, you might say, I'm very busy. There's many things going on. Yes, I know. As I've said before, think about the reuse strategy. The first time you sit down and write a script, the easier it will be next time. Even if you have to adapt the script for different clients, starting from something that's already been done works much better, right? So going back to always thinking about the clients, what is it they need, and adapting what you have. But the quickest way of adapting is by having things written down, things that work and that can be changed very quickly. If you do not have a script, you will deviate. If you do not have a script, you will think on the spot about what to show them, because maybe it is something that you're excited about, that maybe they might not be excited about that, or it's not particularly important to address the current pain points or challenges. So it's important to write your script, and when you do that, think about this idea of the story. How does the story fit into the script, and how do they go together? Again, if you want more detailed information about that, you know how to reach me on social media, especially LinkedIn. I'm very active. You can drop by our one-to-one free product and tech mentoring sessions that we have at the end of every month, or you can also sign up on the course when I go into more details about this particular topic. Demos. Demo doesn't mean monologue. Some people use the entire demo session to demo the product, and you forget, why are we even there in the first place? Why are you doing this demo, and where should this demo lead you to? Answering those questions will help you stop thinking that you need to show everything and you should also need to talk all the time. If your demo is for 30 minutes, then should you really use this 30 minutes just on you talking and you showing features? It's really important that you open the field of discussions during a demo. You ask for feedback and you really have a conversation. Of course, be mindful that there are sometimes you might get certain discussion that might derail your demo. But if that's the case, always start by showing the features, again, the benefits and the demo of the things that are more important first, so that if you run out of time, you can sacrifice certain of the feature that you wanted to see rather than sacrifice a very, very important conversation. And why do I say that? Remember that the idea of a demo and even the idea of sales is just to have more conversations, right? A demo allows you to have more conversation with your clients, which means that if you can further and at least get to the point where you can get to one more conversation, then you have more chances to land a sale. If the sales falls through at that moment, then remember, you do have an ace in your back pocket. You already prepared for the next conversation. You've learned as much as you can about the objections, about things that might not work well, about things that they might not be really interested in at the moment, so that you can use that when you come back. So it's important that you do not turn your demo session into a monologue. Again, I've seen that time and time again, and it's very, very tiring. So rather than having a monologue, make sure to ask why and follow up questions. Open-ended questions work best. And if you're going to ask why, not just why when they do not like something, when they question something, but also think about asking why for things that they lack or they appreciate. Again, it gives you more data to move forward. If there are any topics that you cannot handle at the moment, especially when you start to go into the tricky technical conversation, maybe it's best to defer that to the next call. And that's actually a good way of asking for a follow-up call and say that you want to kind of go through the demo, look at what you have at the moment, and the next call you will bring your technical partners so that you can have that discussion with them as well. And so, of course, you keep everything down, as I always talk about documentation, so that you are more prepared for the next point. Again, if you want to find out more information on this, do ask me, as I've got a list of questions that you can go through as part of the demo. If we switch a little bit and start looking at some of the technical aspects of a demo, right? So now I'm gonna wear my hat more from the product development and technical consulting kind of aspects, and things that I've seen that just please don't do this or do it more often, right? So the first one, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time into that, as I can do an entire episode on that. Think a bit about how you want your client or your potential client to interact with your platform, your app, or whatever. Do you really want them to install something or to go on the website and log in and all of that, and the potential impact that it has? That is really, really important, and it is something that I'll go into a lot of details in my course, and I'm avoiding putting it here because I know that I will just go on, and there's a lot to cover on this. But there are something a little bit more important that I would like to talk about. And that brings the ways of demoing your platform. Now, there's many ways you can do that. And of course, I'm a lover of a live demo, right? I love having a live demo whenever possible. But sometimes you might think, my platform is not quite there yet. How about I use a clickable prototype? Yes, that works as well. So if you've already built a prototype, maybe because you're in an early stage, or you're a bit more advanced, but you are demoing new feature that you are working on, that can also help, right? You can start your demo by having some slides. Yes, PowerPoint slide, but keep it very, very short. Remember, your time with your client is not meant for you to just talk them to death, but to engage in the conversation. As I said before, this is not a monologue. So yes, you can have some slide, but what I've seen is that people spend a lot of time explaining the concept into a lot of details in the slide. So many slides that I would just cut out completely and just focus on what is important. And secondly, the other thing I see is people, you love the buzzword that you use in your organization, whether the buzzwords are technical or buzzwords are based on the industry. Those as well can be, if you see people are not engaging with them, or if they're not required, especially at the point of the demo, don't do that. The demo is not the point where you want to start talking about the full vision of the full concept. You should have already done that in previous conversations. Even if there had new people in the room, they would have heard some of that. If whatever you want to share, keep it concise, keep it focused, link it back to the story, and don't deviate. Otherwise, you're just gonna lose them and lose the momentum. Especially the slides will be at the beginning. You lose the momentum at the beginning, lose their attention, and then will you be able to get it back afterwards? I don't know. So yes, there are many ways you can demo your platform, but one more thing, one more gift that I just thought about right now, which is again, that is my course anyway. But one thing that's really, really important, even if you have a platform and you're in front of a client, right? You are not selling the platform. You are selling your organization, what it brings. You are selling value and benefits. And the platform is that only just one component of that value. So as you're telling the story, don't feel like, because maybe there are some part of the work that you do in the back end, as in the back office, right? Not the back end, but back office. There are something that you do via certain other types of automation that outside your platform. Your clients don't need to know all of those details during the demo, but it needs to know what's the value you are bringing when you bring all of those things together. You might not be able to show it to them, but in your story, even if it's part of the script, you need to be able to articulate that. And that's another key winner that a lot of people forget. When they go into the demo, they forget about the value they bring, and they just got a narrow focus on this particular platform and click here and click there, which quite frankly, you might end up missing the mark. So another thing that's really important before you go on a technical conversation is testing. Test, and test your platform and leave that version alone, right? So especially now we're talking a bit more technical. If anybody has any questions, please put it in the chat and I will answer it live, and also include that in the course that I'm working on, and also find you on social media and answer it directly to you. Leave the version that you have, because what people see is just, oh, I want to make one minor improvement. We just improve the interface, one more change, one tiny change. Really, that little tiny change that is safe, it's been tested by my engineers, nothing bad will happen. I can tell you that little tiny bit of change could be the one that make you lose face in front of your clients. And I was talking to a client of mine. We're doing one of our advisory sessions, and she was nearly in tears because she had this beautiful platform, and they don't know what happened on the day of on the day of the demo. Everything crashed. So my advice is this: one, have a version that you use that is separate from other versions, a version that's specific for your demo. And once that's stable, don't touch it. Only touch it when there's any value, when everything else has been tested and you integrate that. A lot of people don't do it. They just look at the latest stable base and use that. I would rather have the latest stable base that was tested, version that was tested, keep that under another name, just like demo area, whatever, and use that. So if what I'm telling you sounds a little bit like gibberish, let me know and I can write it down, and you can just take that to whoever you're working with on your platform and says, what is she talking about? Are we doing that? Because this is something that I see a lot. Sometimes, as developers, yes, we are competent, we have confidence in our platform, but there are times, if a dish has to come out of the kitchen and it's already been approved, give me something that has been approved. Please don't add random spices and hope that this will work without testing, right? So it's better to have something stable that works, because the last thing you want is the embarrassment and the headache of not knowing if this minor change was done in a way that changes other things. And if you work with an outsourced company or a large team, also know that the communication might not always flow the way you want, which is why having a protected version is much better than relying on the fact that it will be tested just on time. The last thing we're going to look at is how can you navigate around bugs, glitches, and unfinished features? Now, as a startup, one of the things that, unfinished features, well, is the rule. That's what we work on, right? If it wasn't for unfinished features, I don't think I would have a job. But bugs and glitches is something that always happen in software development. It's something that I've had to deal with in my years of coding. And one thing that I've learned, again, the previous advice on keeping versions separate will help you to navigate through that. But more importantly, you want to make sure that when you have your script and you're preparing for things, don't demo something that can crash, and because that will give you such a bad impression. So if there's a feature that doesn't work quite well, when you get to that feature, then I would rather have a screenshot, rather show the interface, either as a screenshot as back to the PowerPoint or still in the app, but don't click on buttons. And if people ask you to click and go and show more, then tell them that it's still work in progress, have a discussion around that, ask them questions about what they love, show them maybe a prototype, and then ask them what they'd love to see a bit more. So turn your question or turn what they want to see into a conversation, and be very clear that this, in the current version of the demo, you don't have that. I see people that feel like I need to please the clients all the time, which, I mean, I go above and beyond. That's for sure. But when it comes to going above and beyond and then risk to crash in a demo, maybe that's not the right thing to do. So this is, for me, this is a lot about self-confidence in yourself, in what you have, and not so much about just showing something for the sake of showing it. So that's important that you prepare. If you think that you have to demo something that is part or that will go through a path that is sensitive in your organization, find a different ways to do that. And as I've mentioned, clickable prototype, have even a slide of the graphics, as long as they can see the interface, and even the interface of 1, 2, 3 different stages, that is much better than crashing. And in fact, one other thing that I've done before, when I'm not going to bore with the story, but it was one of those things where you have something, again, it goes back to, we were meant to demo to a client. We have our interactive demo, was amazing. And I don't know why someone decided that would be a good idea to do it. One minor tweak and things started breaking. So what I told the team is, we are not going to demo that part live. So I went in the background and I knew the happy path, and I kind of changed the code in the back. And then we recorded a good case scenario of those features. When you click here, this is what you see. This is how you see the chart change, whatever. And we kept that as a video that we can show. And yes, you might think it's a bit clunky to start going on your platform and then sharing a video. But again, it goes back into the story, right? So when I was demoing with the story and the enthusiasm, again, enthusiasm is really important. People can forgive a lot because they don't know what to expect. You are the one who are creating this show for them. So if you change the format and it's not the format that they always expect, it's actually another way of attracting their attention. So again, turn everything that's negative, find a way to turn it into a positive, and find a way to have a story that wrap that around so that you can present that much strongly to the client. So I hope that was really, really helpful. And especially if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And as I said, I'm working on a course where I'm going to go into this in a lot more details with a lot of questions that you can ask and everything else. And even one other area that's also very important is thinking about the data that is flowing into your platform. And again, I've been into conversation where the data, we're seeing a platform, a dashboard, or we're seeing something where data will flow in, but it doesn't relate to our industry, or the person is talking about certain data, but they didn't realize that there's calculation in the background. So the data that is actually shared on the screen is not what we're seeing. So that again makes me feel like, should I really trust this team, or should I really trust this product? So yes, data is also important, and I'll go into the data aspect of sharing your platform in more details into my course. So if you have any questions on anything that we said, I don't know, it's a lot to take on, but do remember, the first time you go through this, yes, it's going to take a lot of time, but once you've done it for one client, you can work on automation and how to reuse some of this for the next time, as I've mentioned throughout this episode. And I believe that just changing the way you do your demos, by changing the way you present content, and even thinking differently around issues that will happen anyway when it comes to having a platform that's quite, that might not be as stable as you want, especially during the sales process, then that will help you to attract more customers, to attract more investors rather than pushing them away. If you have any questions, you know where to find me on social media. Do join our one-to-one product and mentoring sessions. And of course, do sign up for our course where we go into this in more details. And for those who want even more, for me to have another episode live on this, to touch certain areas of certain issues that you might have, you know where to find me. I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Do remember, dream, build, play. Let's design a happy and productive workplace playground together.